and set. Switch. And center. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands here. Silk grilling. Okay, switch. Okay, open and close. Switch. Okay, center. Circular movements. Okay, lower hoop. Shoulder height. Elbows down. Lower palms down. Extend. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, diagonal flying. Switch. Okay, Sana. Cloud hands. Okay, palms down, carry tiger to the mountain. Infinity sign. And form the fists. Palms together, strum the lute. Okay, thumbs up. And switch. And Sana, turn, draw the bow. Okay. Fan to the back. Okay, raise the hand. Palms now. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, we'll go through the sequence first. Right, feet parallel. Preparation. Brush knee 4 times. Strum the lute. Step up, form the fist and punch. Divert, block and punch. Leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Carry tiger to the mountain. Cross hands, raise the left hand, bend from the waist, stork flaps wings. Left side grasp the sparrow's tail. Left side single whip. Hold and reverse the ball. Sit back, stroke down, part the horse's mane. Step up, stroke down, part the horse's mane. Sit back, cross corner. Hook your wrist, turn back to the front. Cloud hands. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, so let's go into the 90-degree position with the heels. Okay, we'll find our center line. Find a strum the lute position. Okay, now we're going to square the feet. 1, 2. Turn. Separate the hands. Now you have strum the lute, right? Press forward. Okay. Sit back, turn. Turn again. Flip. Move this hand in. Move this hand up. Go forward. Back. Square the feet. Turn. Flip the elbows. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is that? Because practicing beyond sequence becomes refining movement in some ways and building understanding of your transition. So transitions will evolve forever, simply because everyone picks up the transition, perceives movements to be different based on a level of understanding. Because what you understand is what you're telling your body to do, right? Because the body actually doesn't know. And anything new that you do that requires a motor skill becomes, in some instances, kind of awkward. And in some instances that you have to break habits. And other instances that it's just relearning something new. But this isn't anything new, actually. This is stuff that you've already been doing. But it's been sort of formatted in different files or compartments. Now when you merge these files, then if they're not somehow connected, like like the computer, and this is actually working like that, how does it know? It doesn't talk to each other, right? So when we're doing this, we're in this stance and we pivot and we pivot. That's footwork. When we go forward and back and adjust, that's taking us in a direction, but you're refining the pivoting part of this motion, so that's lower extremities. You have to control your legs in order to control your center of mass and the direction of movement. And then we have this. A relationship between the right and left side. Okay. So between this, and this becomes a transition that takes you to the other side, swapping sides, and transitioning with structural integrity. And what's a structural integrity? It's your geometry of position, and the structure is really your skeleton. The integrity is how you manipulate your structure to create the different positions. So when we go through this, now we start to integrate and create a sequence of events. So yeah. So from here, I'll go over that. 1, 2, we're going to drop, right? So this hand slides down as if you're going to a diagonal flying kind of square. And then this hand comes in and replaces that one. This hand comes up. You horizontal, so at least your shoulder should be relaxed. Yeah. Okay. Here. So don't lift, don't do this. Do this. Let the joint pivot. Don't let the clavicle area, your shoulder blade, become the dominant motion, because then you're tight here. So learn to relax that in here and drop, and then you're here. This goes to center and then it replaces there. So that's what happens with the hands. So because we're adding a transition, turn, now you're to the side, you separate the hands, right? You go forward and you go back. Now we turn back to the front, we have the position, we turn to this side. And isn't this what you do when you make your first turn before grasp the sparrow's tail? Then we go back to here, right? So we're in the forward position, we can go back to here to do grasp sparrow's tail, or stay here and turn. Now we're back to this structure, then we toe, heel to this side, and we turn slightly to the right and flip the hands, drop it down, and then turn to the center, and then back to center, and then go forward. You have a number of transitions that you're building into your movement. You're moving your legs, you're moving your hands, you're pivoting 180-degree turn, you're moving right, you're moving left, you're going forward, and you're going back. So all those things are happening, and that's simple. Yeah, you have a question? Yeah. So let me. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, so I'll go over that in a second. You say, well, it's kind of new, actually, because what's new is that it's been brought up as a concept. It's not new as far as sequence. It's there, but you're not conscious of it because it's not discussed, or at least it wasn't, or it was missed, right? So if you start the form off and you just watch this for a second, when I go up to my left side and I go forward, that's that movement that was there. When I sit and I turn the corner, I drop my hand, that's that movement there. But I move my foot in and move it out as a leg transition, but this is here. This is here. This becomes grass to sparrow sail. So the transition is there. It's called beginning style, right and left. But the beginning style, right and left, is missed because when you're first learning sequence, the only thing you're really focused on is getting from point A to point B, and then back to C, and then continue on. So all the stuff in between is kind of missed. And is missed because your level of consciousness is on sequentially sequence, and it's memorizing that. Once you've memorized the sequence, then you have to go back and work the transition, work your body, because what are we dealing with? We're dealing with your extremities, right? That's what moves your arms and your legs. Then your torso is the most probably dysfunctional part of the body, simply because we don't really move it other than it moves itself. We move it when we breathe. But we don't like to turn, we don't like to bend, we don't like to do all these things because it takes some effort, and maybe your body's very tight, so it doesn't like that. People don't like to stretch because it hurts the back of the leg. So everything that the body doesn't like, the tendency is not to do it, right? So that's just, normal. But when we're doing this, we're taking movement sequentially and developing muscle memory, sequence of events, motor skill, control, and all of that comes into play. And I call it, some of it is to help prevent age-related degeneration. Age-related degeneration, first thing is mental decline, because we don't use it the same way we used to, or we're not learning the same way. So the physical side of learning is actually the best way of learning, because you're wiring your body through using the motor neurons and the sequence of events, and you're building more files. That's what brain plasticity is. So you have to build these networks of the connections to make this happen. This doesn't happen simply because you want it to. It happens as a course of repetition. We're creatures of habit. I use that term a lot. We do it over and over again, and eventually the body picks up on it. But it's still only picking up on the gross motion because the body still doesn't know. So I use geometry of position to tune in on what is the shape of the movement, what is the angle of the movement as part of muscle memory. Then when you pull those angular things together, you reference your own body, because what else is better to reference than your body? You can't reference the space. That's more, in the mapping of form. You reference your body, because your body has to be in a position that is functional. So functionality is the real purpose of movement. Functionality. Why else do we move? You have to do things, right? Anything that we do, regardless of what, you name one thing in a day that you do doesn't require some form of functionality or task, right? So in Tai Chi we say, use your will and not strength. So what does that mean? What's a will? That's hard to describe. Mindfulness, mental imagery, doing what you think it's supposed to do, and then consciousness, all the stuff that happens up here. We have all these terms, and then how do you get that to happen? But it does just happen. When you leave here, you automatically go to where you think you're supposed to be going. But you really don't, think too much about it. You just do it. And that's how we get through the day most of the time. We just get through the day by doing it. But just like the Tai Chi turn that when we were just talking about, we just do it. But when I bring it up like this, you say, well, so now what I'm showing you is how to practice it. This is how you train something, as simple as beginning style, right? So, what's that?
I find that really confusing.
Yeah, so,
How am I doing it? How do I know which arm to bring?
so if I go over that before we do the long form, but this is, this is essential information because we have horizontal, we have center line, triangle, and then we have square, right? So the combinations of these become a right and a left side. So when you're in a triangle position, you don't have a right or a left. You're centered. We don't even shift from side to side. We're just centered. So that's a good position to do, standing meditation, standing meditation, standing meditation. That's just clearing your thoughts, holding a position that doesn't take any effort really, just physically stacking. And then you just clear your thoughts and let your body delete excessiveness. Let your body figure out what you're doing. So when you stand here and there's nothing happening other than holding this, your body starts to regulate how much tension it needs, how much strength it needs to hold that. And that's the goal of the consciousness, is to let go of everything that's erroneous. Don't use any excessive strength. That's really how you're supposed to be doing standing meditation. Yeah.
I noticed for the first time, I don't know if I'm just seeing it, that when you're doing the punches,
Yeah.
that your weight is going a little bit back.
Uh-huh.
That
Uh-huh. So that's response. Because when you stand here stiff as a board and you do this, you're stiff as a board, and that's how it looks. It's very isolated. But when the body's integrated, it does compensation and counterbalancing of motion. So what you're seeing looks like a sway, but it's not really a swaying, because what it is it's response to position. So if you relax at the ankle and you form the fist and you draw down and you punch forward and you pull back, there's a give and take in your body because there's a response. If your ankles to the top of your head is somewhat relaxed, so the response is what your body's supposed to be doing. That's part of your proprioception, is part of your counterbalancing of motion. It happens naturally as a course of your practice. It doesn't happen if you're holding your body rigid, so that's how most people are. I say most people, it's probably more than 90% of the people. Why I say that is because there's 80,000 people in Newton, we have like 6 people here. You can imagine, one of them's from Belmont, one is from Walpole or Wayland. So we can see that the population that do this is so small that no one really knows this even exists, that there's a counterweighting. So you bring it up. It is true, because you notice it only because today's the day that you made that discovery. You made the connection. After 20 years, you made the connection. And that's how long it takes to figure that out. Even though I talk about it all the time, but that's that's another thing that happens, is that if you feel it, then when you see it, you say, well, that must be part, then you ask the question. But if you don't feel it yourself and then you can't even see it. It's that simple. But yet it's there, not there. So when we're here, we have one right side and a left side, or a right side and a left side. Now if I turn here, I'm on my left side. There's your toe, there's your fingertip, right? So that's the same side. So strum the lute is generally on the same side. When I round out, that's called ward off or pung position. It's a half round. So you're leaning there and you sit back. Now if I turn back to here, I have this structure. When I make this turn, I drop this elbow, because this is what happens to switch sides. So whichever hand is forward to get to the other side, and I'm not going to turn now, I'm just going to switch hands. This is what has to happen. So if we look in the mirror. Okay, let's look in the mirror. The course of the motion is just this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Horizontal, press, flip, stroke, 1, 2. So that upper body transition is that. You're from neutral, left, horizontal left, to vertical. When it goes to vertical, the other hand's horizontal. It slides down, and then the other option is to go like this, and this, you're on the other side. Then you're here, press, there's the other side, that was horizontal to vertical, and you switch to here. So that's essentially what you're doing as a transition on right and left side. It's the upper body, very easy to do if you're just following it as a little drill. But because, and then what's confusing maybe to you is which leg is forward. Well, if you take this same concept and you turn to here, taking this idea now that you always, when the toe is up is your empty stance, your fingertip is always up on that side. That's your neutral position. You learned that day one, right? And then when you go to horizontal and press, that's the vertical and horizontal that I talk about a lot. Vertical, horizontal, and then you go back and forward and back. Now that's a simple drill that kind of gets you forward and back, and you're always in the vertical position with the toe up, and the horizontal position is always with the knee forward. Okay, now if I sit back and I make my turn, and I turn again, now I'm on the opposite side, I flip my hand, I stroke down, and I move to my right side because my right toe is up. Right? So all you're doing is referencing your body. So when we talk about referencing, you start to identify right and left. So this should have been done early on, but it's too much information for you to retain all that because there's not a good, clear understanding. So after you finish sequence and you start to look at the movements, so this is sort of the analytical side of your motion. So you go into another stage of understanding because you have to analyze your movements in order to recognize how to modify them, how to improve them, how to correct them. All of this involves more of the brain. So then you start to think and use analytical skills that you may not be using anymore, right? So we're always doing that. That's, life is like that. You constantly have to deal with problems. So these are not major problems. These are just problems that you have within your form. If you take your form seriously or you want to improve, then you would start to problem solve. And that becomes a way of thinking. So believe it or not, I learned a lot of things over, throughout life and dealing with stress and problems through this practice. So whenever I have a problem, I just go through and you solve it, regardless of how it is. So you don't go into this mode like, I don't know where to start this. I don't know where to start that. You just use the organized format of the mind that you've developed, and you just do it. So that's really, so the training that I'm talking about actually is sort of a way of life. We develop it, it's been part of how I do everything, really. So like they say, there's an old saying, there's really no such thing as a big problems. There's a lot of small problems. You have to fix the problems when they're small before they get to be big, right? But if you do that, then you can really be stress-free. Like this pandemic and the school, and it drops down to 60%, how do you deal with it, right? I come here every day, and we teach the classes. I try to teach better with the few people that I have, and just nurture what's going on, and that's it. Now back to one thing that she mentioned, your legs, right? So if you're in this position, just taking that position, and you go forward and back. So if you separate, see your primary move is your wrists, your elbow, and your shoulders. Your ankles, your knees, and your hips all work as a relationship. Now in the lower, like with this, you relax the shoulder. There's actually passive and active motion there. When you're in a stance, when you lower your weight, the front foot relaxes. When you push off the back leg, your front leg yields. When you start to sink, you initiate it here. Then when this leg straightens, that leg starts to fill. So that's what filling and emptying is. because your legs don't respond the way arms do, because the legs typically only support your body weight and take you from point A to point B. We don't use them methodically like this typically. So you have to program your legs to feel and develop the relationship between one side and another. That's why we can shift from side to side. And then when you shift from side to side, it becomes agility and sensitivity. You start to delete the excessiveness that's in the legs, because when you hold a stance like this and you just bend your knee, it actually uses a lot more strength than is required. The first time you got into an empty stance, after 10 seconds, pretty tired or uncomfortable. And then you start to sink and you start to... So sinking is a term that we use in Tai Chi, or actually in martial arts. Sinking is releasing the joints so you settle. What happens when you settle and sink? You increase stability. Pardon me? You're filling when you settle, but which leg do you fill? Okay, right? So they alternate. So the relationship between the two legs is filling and emptying as a relationship between sides. So I fill the front, I fill the back. I fill the front, and I fill the back. So that's the leg. Pardon me? Depends how big the stance is. So that's a stylistic difference. So I would suggest for people that are doing it for athleticism, strength, and competition, then the stance has to be big. If you're doing it for long. If you're doing it for health, or you're doing it for it could be just about a little bit wider than shoulder, but you still have to relax the hips, the knees, and ankles. So the biggest stance puts your hips and knees through more of a stress. So you stress your body to build strength, but you're not looking to build enormous strength. You're trying to build connected strength, coordinated strength. So you don't have to go too far, but you should have that relationship, at least get it up in here. Now, we're just looking at the forward-backward position, but the idea of turning and shifting and shifting and turning. So every time you hear me say shift, when you're in a forward position, if I want to continue to forward, I have to shift again. And then I can step to here and I go to my shoulder width stance. So you can double shift in your ankle to get your weight over your supporting foot. If you shift once and then you don't shift again and you want to move, you're going to be double weighted. Because the second shift is to get your spine over your supporting leg so you have stability. That's differentiating between solid and empty, substantial and insubstantial. So substantial leg is the weighted leg. The insubstantial is the unweighted leg. The degree of substantial and insubstantial varies based on if it's 100% step through or it's a partial change. So that's a variable that you have to control and regulate based on how the next posture is going to be and where you're going. It's sort of like steering your car. Do you turn it this much or this much? What's it depend on? It depends on what you're going to do. You're going to make a U-turn, and then it only gets you halfway. Then you got to reverse it. And so when we steer our legs, if I just turn this much, I'm only going to go there. I turn this much, I go there. If I turn this much, I'm 90 degrees. But if I turn this much, I really can't go anywhere till I shift. And then it goes like that. Then that goes into toe-heel relationships, and it just gets into too many things. But don't worry, time will tell. We'll just have to keep working on it. There's so many concepts in the body. Yeah, it took me most of my life. That's how stupid I was. Who would do this for 60 years and come up, well, you can pivot your heel and do this. That's why nobody wants to do this. But actually, I'm only joking. Actually, I got a lot out of, it's an understanding, huh? Yeah. Why? Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, this is a community. So I serve the community with this information. It's a martial arts community. It's a really, yeah, it's a Tai Chi community. No, we do. No. I'm not even worried about it because the the community that stays is the community that will stay. The community that left is the community that left. They really wouldn't have supported it anyways. So really, it really filters down to, whoever really enjoys it. And you can't force people to do it. It's one of those things. So anyways, let's do the long form. So did that help you, Lisa? The leg thing. Yeah. Just learn to relax. Let it go. That's the hardest thing. Okay. We'll talk again next week. And your front kick, right, the toe, yep. So you know the sequence, Lisa, this part, yeah. Then you go to your left kick. Turn, 180-degree turn, left heel kick, fold the elbows. Then brush knee, right side push. Second brush knee. Here's your twist step. Here's your familiar position. Step up, forward, twist step. Planting punch. Turn. Parry and punch. Step up with your left foot. High pat the horse. Cross the hands. Go to beat the tiger. Cross step behind. Change the hands. Bring your right hand up. Go to a position like Jade Lady. Drop the elbow, stroke down. Turn to the rear corner. Jade Lady. Well, it's actually beat the tiger. I'm just using that as a framework. Now turn toward the mirror. Yep, face the mirror. Yep, you can face the mirror. So we're like this. Lower the hoop. Cross the forearm. So elbows down. Elbows flat. So there's a transition there to the heel kick. Lower hoop. 2 punches to the ear. Bring your left hand on top. Flip the hands. Step up, fold. Potting leg, it's a crescent sight movement, crossover, toe, heel to toe. Left hand, that your hand swapped over, that's good. Fold, lift, go to the corner, open, hammer fist, sit back, parry and punch, form the right fist, step up, and punch. Divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Bring the hands down, sit back, release, turn, upper hoop, forward, sit back, palms out, cross the arms, oblique, brush knee, go to your left side, go forward, 180-degree turn, oblique, left brush knee and push, and then we're going to go back to the right side, grasp the sparrow's tail. Then we turn to the front. We're going to hold and reverse the ball. Diagonal flying on the right side. Sit back, pot the horse's mane 5 times. So we have 4 right sides and 1 left. There's 2. Step up, left side, pot the horse's mane. Step up, 2 more, pot the horse's mane. Now we're going to cross corner. 1, 2. Left side, Jade Lady work shadow. Sit back, pivot. Pivot. Transition all the way to the other side, right corner. Or right side. And so your right foot should be forward there. Yeah. Stroke down. Pot the horse's mane. So the crossover now is going to just repeat what we just did. So you have your left side, Jade Lady work shadow. Okay. Then when we sit back, pivot the left, pivot the right, cross over with the left and step up 1 more time. And you have this, so this foot should be forward. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Hook your wrists to Jade Lady. Actually, just grasp the sparrow's tail in this corner. And we go back to single whip. Do the second set of cloud hands. And then we're going to pivot, cover hand, step over. This is snake sticks out tongue. We can see it in the mirror. Invert the hand like this, flip them over, pull down, step up to cross hands, lift the knee. This is golden cockerel, poke and kick, right? And then from here, we just pull back like this. Go back to right side, reverse the stand, then repeat, repulse the monkey. So this whole sequence is just a repeat. And then we go to neutral, lower hoop, turn, carry tiger to the mountain again with the opening stance. So we step out, hold the ball again, shift, shift. That's what I talked about earlier. Forward, shift, raise the hand. Bend from the waist, stork flaps wings, turn, one brush knee, right side push, second insert needle, second fan through the back. Turn, second parry and punch. Now we step forward with the second parry and punch. So punch, divert, block, and punch, and then step up again for grasp the sparrow's tail. Okay, so we have that done. Go to the third set of cloud hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's your first set, or actually series. It's 3 series of these movements. And back to single whip. Next, the last section of the form goes to palm strikes face, to single lotus kick, brush knee push on the left side, right side to a step, punch down to crotch, sit back, go back to neutral, right side step up, grasp the sparrow's tail, to single whip. Now we go to downward posture for the second time. 1, 2, pull down, invert the hand, and then we're going to step up to cross hand. It's called 7-star. Sit back, ride the tiger, left palm strikes face, 180-degree turn and change the hands to right side up, sink down double lotus, draw bow to shoot tiger, step up to left palm strikes face. So we were here before, we just repeat this movement. We've done this before, it's parry and punch. Then we step up again, palm strikes face left, high pat the horse just like in the kicks. Then we go to neutral left, step up to neutral right, grasp the sparrow's tail. Hook your wrists, single whip, hold and reverse. Here's your second right side diagonal flying. Here's your closing. And that's it. All right, deep breathing. So you can see the sequence is really, does have some logic to it. So if you're here next week, practice if you have a chance to do the beginning style movements that we did as a drill. So you get your homework next time you're here, and Tuesday if you're here, then I'll show you what other benefits that drill does in the support of your form. Right, okay, next. Ready? Bow. Salute.
I think the movement of the legs, connecting with the crowd, at least made me feel like it was the whole body.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
whole body.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah. Rather than just.
Yeah, because,
doing,
yeah.
Arms was.
Well, you think about it, right? Most people, what do they do all day long? They sit, they work 8 hours a day. After